Hey everybody, this is Chuck Marone with Strong Towns. I want to talk today about screening, and this is one of the worst things that suburban development has given to cities. Let me elaborate a little bit. If you go out to the suburbs, you're going to see a development pattern that, let's be kind, de-emphasizes aesthetics. Now, I know some people like the suburban aesthetic, right? They like the cul-de-sac, they like the 3-car garage with the attached house. They say, it's a nicely maintained lawn. Okay, but no one really looks at big box stores, strip malls, drive-through restaurants, the kind of, traffic signal, over signage. Like, no one looks at these areas and says, this is beautiful. This is the kind of aesthetic that we want. Generally, these places are designed, almost exclusively around accommodating automobile traffic, and everything else is kind of an afterthought. Humans don't like this environment aesthetically, we generally think this is ugly. And that is captured by the fact that planners, zoners, zoning officials in cities, have developed these intricate standards for screening. Now, this is stuff that comes from American Planning Association and other professional organizations that support planners have come up with these ways to take the ugly and then put what Jim Kunstler has called a nature Band-Aid on it. This is a big parking lot that's directly kitty corner to my house. It serves the hospital. They've consumed a block here, half a block there, half a block over there of the neighborhood and converted it all into parking. Nobody who lives on this side of the street wants to look at this massive parking lot, and we don't blame them, right? So what you do is you screen it. You put a nature Band-Aid on it. You put in shrubs. They're gonna be, suburban-esque shrubs, right? Like no coherent form to them, just more to kind of simulate nature, give it a woodsy look. Of course, this doesn't really, walking here, these have matured now enough where it blocks the parking lot. But, this doesn't really create a public realm. This doesn't really create public space. It just covers up the stuff that we think is ugly. I'm in the middle of the city, and so my point is that we pioneered this approach for the suburbs. We pioneered this approach for out where, this was an issue, this was a problem. And then we imported that ethic, just like we've imported a lot of our design ethics, back into the city. And this is a tragedy because cities at their best are not designed to be ugly. They are not designed to be aesthetically something you want to cover up. I'm now just walked past the hospital and I'm on a different block. This is an older traditional block of development. You can see here on my side here that the houses all kind of line up. Do they all have their own aesthetic? Yes. Do they all have their own approach? Yes. There's variation. You can look and say, I really like that house, not so much on that one. But they all have similar design in the sense that, they line up, so they form like a coherent wall. On the opposite side of the street, the buildings line up. Having walls on each side creates a room-like feeling, gives this block a really strong sense of place. Each home has their opening, their primary opening, onto the street. And so there's a certain level of friendliness conveyed by the overall design. There's a certain amount of kind of just community coherence that comes forth. But now look at how we use vegetation here. We don't use vegetation to screen ourselves from this. We don't use vegetation to hide this, to cover it up. What we do is we use the vegetation to actually frame the public realm. So if you look here, this street has great street trees all along it. They're right on the edge of the boulevard. Again, that framing that the buildings provide by being, not perfectly lined up, but pretty much in a line, have a build-to line. The trees do the same thing. The trees create, in a sense, a wall on each side of the street framing this public realm and making it have that room kind of feel. When you create a room feel, when you create a room in a space, what you do is you bound it. You actually create a boundary condition, and that boundary condition is how you get a sense of place. It's why a parking lot, no matter what you do, will never feel like a place. But a room in a house, because it has walls, feels like a place. When we make walls out of our buildings, when we make, in a sense, walls out of our trees and our vegetation in a space like this, good urban form with it, what you get is you get a really, really strong sense of place. Beyond that, you get shade. It's cooler here than it is over in the street or in places without the vegetation. You'll notice here that these are generally kind of trimmed up so you can see through here. The idea is not to make this, scary and isolated, but to make it open. This urban vegetation, as opposed to the suburban vegetation that we saw down at the screening of the nasty parking lot, this urban vegetation is not trying to cover anything up. It's trying to accentuate what's here. When your zoning code, if you're building a city and your zoning code is like intricately deep into screening, it's a red flag that what you have done is you've imported a suburban design ethic, one that's based around moving automobiles and building places that accommodate automobiles as opposed to building a place. Get rid of that screening and focus your time on how you actually build a great place that doesn't have to be covered up, doesn't have to be hidden, doesn't have to be screened, doesn't need a nature Band-Aid.